Now, spring may not officially begin for another month, but that doesn't mean we can't get our soil ready for our plants. Michael Ismail, our master gardener, is here to tell us why it's so important for the process. And I was just telling you during commercial, I'm especially paying attention because I think this is my problem with my plants at my house.
Yeah, it's very common, you know,
Yes.
and there's some factors at play there. As far as the importance to why do you need to add things to the soil, we live in a dry, arid climate, and there's not a lot of vegetation that ends up in the soil that decomposes, breaks down for our plants. It's also because it's so hot and dry, things decompose very quickly. So especially for our vegetable gardens, we need to add quite a bit to help them. We really, in our native soil, have 1% or less organic matter, so we have to improve that and add something.
Now, you have brought a bunch of stuff here, and this is exactly what I feel like when I go to the store. I feel like there's...
A little overwhelmed?
Yes, there's so much. So what
Sure.
have you brought, and can you break a little bit down for
Yeah,
us?
let me break it down a little bit, because
Okay.
the reality is you don't need to go and fill up your shopping cart with all of these things. I wanted to give sort of a little sample of what you might find in a master gardener's shed right now.
Okay.
You know, so we can actually simplify things to different groups.
Okay.
You know, we have, these are all basically soil amendments. This is compost, and this is one of the most common things that people will add to their soils. This is called a soil conditioner, which has compost and other things. Basically, we're trying to get that organic matter into the soil, and so that's really important. Also, types of minerals, soft rock, phosphorus, even things like magnesium. This is Epsom salt. You probably recognize it from around the house. Well, a lot of plants, especially fruiting plants like tomatoes, they really need magnesium. You know, so minerals like green sand, and then also other types of fertilizers are things that we might want to add to the soil. And if we were going to break it down to, you know, well, what would I definitely need, even without having to diagnose any problems? You know, the most common thing is compost. Also composted manures like cow manure, chicken manure, and then also a balanced fertilizer.
Okay.
Do you know what that means, balanced fertilizer?
Nope.
Well, okay, so remember back, maybe months back, we were talking about NPK, right? Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So when you look at a fertilizer, you'll see these numbers. It's always 3 numbers with dashes in between. That's NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So a balanced fertilizer has very similar numbers. They're close together in all of these values.
So 463 is good.
Yeah, 463, it depends on what you're trying to feed. So the middle number, that 6, that's phosphorus. And tomatoes, real fruiting vegetables, they really need a lot of phosphorus. So you might use something with a little bit more phosphorus. Whereas if you're growing a lot of greens, then you might use something that is more nitrogen, you know, 5, 4, 5. That has a little more nitrogen, less phosphorus, because they don't need that phosphorus to put on, you know, fruit production like tomatoes and that type of thing.
Michael, are you a gardener or are you a scientist?
You know, there's a little bit of both, really. Yeah, there's so much going on in the soil, and we're trying to not only feed the plants, we're also trying to feed all these microorganisms that are in the soil. Plants are like people in that they rely on microorganisms just like we do. So we're trying to give the soil, you know, everything that these plants might need.
So I think this is one, maybe why everything in my yard is dying, but also I think that why a lot of people think they're not very good gardeners, because there is so much to kind of know, and this is the right thing, but I know you guys are a great resource.
Yeah, we are. And especially if you've come from somewhere where you have really rich soil, you might be struggling. And so the resources are available, and there's several ways you can take advantage of that. One is call the plant clinic with specific questions you might have. Also attend some library talks. Just in the next couple of weeks, there are at least 4 library talks that are on warm season vegetable gardening. And also classes. In fact, on March 18th, there's a class that you can take that's specifically about soil building. And there's so much that we can go into. So if you want to learn more and not just be kind of taking a shot in the dark, then sign up for one of these classes, and that can really get you on your way.
So are we talking about this today because we are going to be coming into spring? A lot of people are going to be doing some stuff?
Yeah, and if maybe you've had some trouble in the past, or you're just getting started and you want to have success with the effort and just the emotional investment that you put into your garden, then, you know, pick up some of this information, publications online about fertilizing on our website, you know, call us, come to a class, because this is the time of year to start improving your soil, because it's time to start planting for our spring gardens. And if you get a good jump start on it, then you have a better chance of getting, a tomato crop, for example, which need to be started pretty early once there's no more risk of frost.
And that was actually what I was going to say, because right now I'm wearing boots today, but it's going to be 80 on Saturday.
Yeah, it changes quick.
Yeah, so stuff like you were saying, like tomatoes and things like that, there's some things we should already be getting on a jump start on.
Yeah, that's right. And our average last frost date is around March 15th, but sometimes it's a little earlier. And so once there's no more risk of frost, if we get those tomatoes in right away, we have a good chance of getting a crop. And the reason for that is tomato pollen dies at about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you wait too long to put them in, by the time the plant is big and healthy and ready to produce tomatoes, it might be too hot for them to actually pollinate. So the earlier you get started, the better off your garden will be.
That is so amazing. And I love that we learned what these 3 numbers are, because I guarantee a lot of people were curious what that meant, and I had no idea. But I'm going to remind them again even more ways that they can get a hold of you guys. Michael, as always, we have learned so much from you.
I appreciate that.
Now, on top of what we were talking about, the free garden tours also take place every Wednesday and Saturday at 9 a.m. To learn more about upcoming events like what we were talking about, log on to extension.arizona.edu/calendar or call 626-5161.